Welcome to Stress Less Obsessed, the podcast. My name is Sophie Deans, and I'm here to bring you all things on self-care, self-development, as well as lifestyle tips and hacks to keep your life as simple and stress-free as possible. So let's make a start and join me on a journey of living a life with less stress. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stress Less Obsessed, the podcast. And today I want to talk to you about mood foods. Now, as a former certified personal trainer, I have studied nutrition and I've always found it really interesting how foods and what we eat and what we consume can affect us in terms of our energy, what vitamins we're taking on and what the benefits of those vitamins do for us. And in the past, I've looked into seeing if there are specific types of food that can do what it says on the tin and affect our mood. And so I want to share with you some things that I've learned and some foods that I try to incorporate into my diet on a regular basis. One, because they're healthy, but two, because there have been studies and research that have shown that they've helped reduce feelings of stress and anxiety and also depression as well. But also because they're good to know if you're ever going through times of stress. You might want to make sure that if you are going through periods of strain and stress, that you are specifically eating foods that are going to boost you a bit more. And I think just being conscious of what you're consuming is actually going to make you feel even a little bit better, that you know that you're taking care of yourself, and you should feel good about that. Obviously, foods aren't miracle workers. They're not going to fix everything that's going on with our world, and they're not in place of if you really need professional medical advice and support, but they can definitely give you a boost, and they're definitely a positive step if you're taking care what you're putting into your body. And with the right vitamins and minerals, you're going to have the right fuel to keep you going and nourishing your mind and your body to keep you powering through. Because I've found what I've researched so interesting, I've created I say a little, it's not that little, but I've created a list of foods that I can prioritize if I am feeling like I've had a bit of a low mood and I want to give myself a bit of a boost. And I've got that list handy so I can incorporate those into my weekly grocery shop. I do mine online, but you can just keep it on your phone or you can print it out, keep it with you, whatever works for you. And so this will be available for you to download. But anyhow, I wanted to go through some of these foods today. Now, first up, fatty fish. Salmon, tuna or sardines I've got here, due to the omega-3 content and anti-inflammatory properties, they help improve our mood and have been shown to mitigate depression. So these are all of our good fats, and we need good fats. And I personally make sure I have salmon at least once per week, from which I add it on to my grocery shop. But sometimes I have more. Sometimes I like to treat myself to a bit of sushi, which is one of my favorites. And sardines, they remind me of the south of France. So I like to have some of those in the pantry, especially if I start to run out. It's always good to have something healthy in the cupboards rather than, I guess, picking up something else. I'm trying to think of something else that you'd keep in the pantry that's not very healthy that you'd reach for instead. But it's always good to have on hand if you start running low. Really good for salads and for lunches. I love a baked potato, so anything is good for a baked potato. And the sardines, they have lots of vitamin D and selenium and B12, and that's all supporting our bodily functions and improving our mood. If you're vegan, an alternative could be flaxseed or tofu. And I do try to go meat-free once or twice a week as well. And I like to incorporate tofu either into a stir fry or a curry as well. So they have just as good benefits. One of my favorite things on the list is dark chocolate. Now, dark chocolate is linked to lower depressive symptoms, and this is potentially due to the potent antioxidant properties of the cocoa polyphenols. So the higher the cocoa content, the better, and it means obviously less fat and sugar that the chocolate has. So I think dark chocolate should be classed as dark chocolate if it has 55% or more cocoa content. However, I have been eating 90% and it's not as bitter as I thought it was going to be. I started my way up from 75%. That's Lint's 75%, and then they also do an 85%. And when I thought, yep, that's not too bad, I worked up to the 90%, and I don't find it bitter at all. I think finding a good quality chocolate helps rather than the cheaper one. Whenever I have a craving for chocolate, I have one square, and because it is so rich, that's enough. That's all I need, and that quenches my chocolate cravings, and I also feel like I'm doing good for myself. Then we have fermented foods. So I'm thinking kimchi, I'm thinking sauerkraut. These things can easily be taken out of the jar and just added to a salad for dinner. That's what I do. And I just throw them in. It's really good for your tummy and has high probiotic content, and that may raise serotonin levels. So that's your happy hormone. I'd like to explore in another episode the connection between the mind and the gut. So how what we eat in terms of our gut health and having gut health and how that can affect our mood. So stay tuned for that one. Brazil nuts are another staple. I try and eat 3 per day as they're super high in selenium. And this has been shown to link with lower rates of depression. And apparently selenium assists with thyroid function too. And that has a connection between our mood. So I like to have them just whenever I'm feeling peckish, usually in the afternoon, usually with a cup of tea, usually with a cup of matcha or a cup of green tea. And it keeps my hunger at bay and I'm getting a little mood booster. I'm not sure if you're going to like this one, but dark leafy greens. So kale, spinach, Brussels sprouts, all really rich in B vitamins and may be connected to lower levels of depression. Could also be down to the levels of folate, so that impacts the production of mood-related neurotransmitters. But if you're not a fan of greens, don't worry because there are other alternatives like bananas and eggs. But otherwise, I just try and throw in a handful of spinach where I can into my curries, on the side of my lunches or dinners, and you hardly notice they're there. I also try and have a banana pretty much every day. I like eggs quite a lot too. Eggs are also really high in vitamin D and that's antioxidant selenium. So yeah, that just supports our nervous system and our mood. Not one for me, but coffee. So I gave up coffee, I think nearly 3 years ago. It's not just about the caffeine. So caffeine can obviously boost your energy levels and make you feel less sleepy and groggy. But I was actually really surprised to read that even decaffeinated coffee seems to have a similar mood boosting effect. And this was tested in an experiment. So that's awesome news. And I'm quite tempted to buy decaffeinated coffee now and see how that goes. The reason I quit coffee is because I found I would get headaches if I didn't have a coffee after like 2 or 3 days. And so I didn't want to have to be forced to have a coffee every day. So I think I might give the decaffeinated coffee a go. Beans and lentils next on the list, and these are sources of tryptophan, which is one of the building blocks of serotonin, so our happy hormone. And lentils are also a source of folate, and having low folate is linked to depression. Beans and lentils, so these are sources of tryptophan, which is one of the building blocks of serotonin, which is our happy hormone. And lentils are also a source of folate, and low folate has been linked to depression. So obviously you want to have more folate, it will reduce your chances of having depression. And my favorite is baked beans or baked potato, and I have this at least once a week. Not sure when they're talking about healthy beans and lentils if baked beans is qualified under that. But I can say I have a really yummy vegan recipe, which is a bean and lentil chili. So like chili con carne, but no meat. And it is delicious. It's nice and filling. It has kidney beans, black beans, and makes you feel really good after eating it, I have to say. So I'll be adding the recipe for that one to the website shortly, so look out for that. Pumpkin seeds, also called pepitas, don't you know? Super high in magnesium. So you know how I feel about magnesium if you've listened to all of the other episodes in the show. It was surprising for me of how I don't eat these. So I think I will. I think I'll start trying to eat these, and then perhaps I won't need to eat, and then perhaps I won't need to have my magnesium supplements. So diets that are low in magnesium have been linked to both depression and anxiety. And I have tried these pumpkin seeds after using a pumpkin, but I had them with the shells on. So I think that's probably why I don't really make the effort to eat them. But I've just found that you can actually, if you soak the pumpkin seeds in water and leave them for a few hours or overnight, then it's easier to get the shell off. So that texture might be a bit better. So I might try those like that. We already had coffee, now for tea. So I love my tea, black tea and green tea. Both of these have the amino acid content of L-theanine. And apparently it's linked to reduced stress and anxiety and improved mood overall. So if you haven't yet seen that on Netflix, the show about the blue zones, the documentary, where people have been seen to live longer than any other regions on the planet, tea featured really heavily in all of those areas. Now, my favorite is French Earl Grey. I tend to have this almost every day, but I'm also a big fan of green geisha, which is like a green tea with strawberries. And I'm starting to get back into matcha. If you're still hanging in here, we've got berries next up. So berries are great. They're just really high in antioxidants. And I've learned it even inhibits an enzyme which is known to cause depression. So my go-to berry is blueberries. They're my favorite, mainly because I know they're super high in antioxidants and more than any other common fruit or vegetable. So I like to have these mostly with a banana and an apple all cut up in coconut yogurt, and that's like my mid-afternoon fix. Seeds again, but specifically chia seeds up next. And they're very high in magnesium. So as I already spoke about, magnesium, if you're trying to avoid taking supplements, trying to incorporate chia seeds into your diet, they're also really high in omega-3s. So again, if you're not eating fish, then this is another alternative. Mushrooms. I love mushrooms. They're so versatile. You can have them on your breakfast, your brunch, dinner, whatever. It can be a meat substitute. And studies have found that those who ate mushrooms were less likely to be depressed. Also, one of the few natural sources of vitamin D and has B vitamins and antioxidants, all which fight against depression and could improve your mood. I know it's not everyone's favorite food. I've met a few people that are mushroom haters. So we have lean meats due to their high iron content, and this can improve energy levels and therefore affect your mood, especially as a woman. This includes chicken and beef, but I also wanted to give a big shout out to turkey. I wanted to call this one out separately as it's one of my favorites and it's something I like to eat all year round, not just for Christmas. It's super high in tryptophan, which, as I mentioned, helps the body to produce serotonin, but it also has B vitamins and zinc as well. Having a deficiency in zinc has been associated with different mood disorders. So if you're trying to think of ways that you can use turkey throughout the year that doesn't include a roast, what myself and my partner like to do is actually just do the Sunday roast, and then we have leftover turkey sandwiches for the rest of the week. It depends how much you want to indulge. It's so good with brie, but if you want to be a bit healthier, you can just do the cranberry sauce and the spinach, and it's just it's my favorite. It's so good. Quinoa is another mood food, as are cashews. Quinoa's great if you're looking to spice things up a bit and have a different kind of alternative to rice. I love to throw in a bit of quinoa. I know it's doing me good. And avocado as well. Avocados have lots of vitamins which help support your neurotransmitters, your serotonin and your adrenal glands. And they're what release the stress hormone cortisol. So the more stressed we are, the more cortisol our body produces. I've started buying kiwis weekly now. Kiwis have so much vitamin C, which support the adrenal glands, which are making the cortisol when we're stressed. And it also helps with the production of dopamine, which is our reward hormone. But it also helps our happy hormone, serotonin, as well. And it's just to help keep our mood stable and consistent. And I just love that it's got a huge amount of vitamin C. But if you want to compete, we've got the red capsicum, so the red bell pepper, depending on where you're listening. It has more vitamin C than an orange. So who would have thought? Because I didn't. Another one on my recent rotations is sweet potato. I really rate normal potatoes, but as I've been reading how many vitamins the sweet potato has, I've just been trying to incorporate that every day, if I can, into a salad or into my dinner. And there's just so many ways you can eat them. In fact, I even give my dog sweet potato with her biscuits. They're just absolutely full of vitamins and they're so tasty. So a few more just to add to your list. I've got apples, again good for reducing inflammation. Broccoli, which has your tryptophan, which helps your serotonin production, as well as all the other vitamins apples have. But it also helps you produce melatonin because of the B6 content. So it helps, broccoli actually helps us get off to sleep. And you will know how important sleep is if you listen to a previous episode of mine. Having good sleep reflects on our mood, reflects on our energy levels. Huge impact. Lastly for today, I'm going to leave you with oysters. Great for date night, obviously, your aphrodisiac. And also good if you're just having a couple of sips, a couple of cocktails. And these high levels of zinc have seen to be able to ease anxiety and improve your sleep quality. So win-win. So there you go. These are my top foods to improve your mood. And if you want to learn more or read exactly more about what each one does in the body in a bit more detail, I'll include links in the show notes below for you. And I found these so interesting. It's something I've been looking at already. I wanted to share because I don't know who else knows this. And for me, nutrition is self-care. How you nourish your body is looking after yourself and taking the time to consciously pick what you're going to eat, consciously making a meal full of all these feel-good foods will make you feel good. That's not to say you need to eat all of these foods every day. That's not to say you should limit your diet to the foods on this list. It's just something you might want to start incorporating some of these foods. And I love this list because I genuinely forget about some of these fruits and vegetables. And then I look at my list if I am feeling a bit low or I'm going through some stress and like, hey, I forgot about chia seeds. I actually did. And I am going to start cooking with them. And it helps you get that variety back in your diet. And your body needs rotation through different vegetables. If anything, you might just want to try add in some. So rather than rotating, just add in some of these legumes or vegetables to your plate and see how you feel. You'll feel more full and hopefully happier and hopefully less stressed too. I know when we're going through a tough time, sometimes we just want to Uber Eats, sometimes we want to reach for the junk food, the quick and easy, throw in a 10-minute pizza, a ready meal. Maybe you've got healthy ready meals, but really making the conscious effort is a step towards feeling even better and improving your mood. I really can't stress that enough, honestly. So please head to the website. It's stresslessobsessed.com. You'll find the link anyway in the show notes, and feel free to go over there and grab this list of mood foods so that you can start incorporate them into your diet, into your grocery list. Keep it fresh, rotating through varieties of vitamins, and get out of the habit of eating the same thing over and over again. You'll feel great, I promise, and you're doing something good for yourself even by taking the time to listen to this podcast. I'd love to hear from you. As always, let me know how you go if you start incorporating these foods into your weekly grocery list, into your meals, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Let me know if you have any questions. You can send me a DM on Instagram at stresslessobsessed. If there's any comments you'd like me to share, just let me know. Thanks again, and as always, I appreciate you taking the time to do something good for yourself and listening in. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, stresslessobsessed, and thanks for listening. Until next time, breathe and stress less.